Thank you for coming out and being soggy to come and see what is really an awesome show. You are the lucky ones. The people sitting at home, they have no idea what they're missing out on. This show has come together in such a great way and has impressed both of us, and I think everyone that's seen it so far, so much with for a play that was written in 1895 for these middle schoolers to get it together and to understand it and then to present it in an understandable way they have has really been impressive.
They knew these characters from like day one. So when we only had 2.5 weeks before our first competition, we really weren't that worried.
No, it's fine. They did fine. They earned a superior, if you hadn't heard. So you are watching an award-winning show.
Yeah, I mean, they've won lots of other awards besides the whole thing. Anyways, it's just a great show, and we hope you enjoy it. A couple things before we get started. Make sure that your phones are on silent. We don't mind if you use them to take photos or anything like that. Just make sure their ringer doesn't go off.
No flash, please. It's very dim, and so it gets very distracting up on stage. I know we don't have the best of lighting. Hopefully your pictures come out, but just please no flash.
And I see a lot of students here for extra credit. Yay. Don't listen to talking.
Remember, you have to see us on Monday.
They're watching you.
All right, with no further ado, we hope you enjoy the appointment.
For your aunt.
Oh, thank you, lady.
Mr. Ernest Worthing.
Eating as usual, I see, Algie.
I believe it is customary in good society to take some slight refreshment at 5 o'clock.
Why are these cucumber sandwiches? Is someone coming to tea?
Oh, merely anti-gusted one.
Oh, perfectly delightful.
Yes, that is all very well, but I'm afraid anti-gusted won't quite approve of your being here.
May I ask why?
My dear fellow, the way you flirt with Gwendolyn is perfectly disgraceful. It is almost about as the way she flirts with you.
I'm in love with Gwendolyn. I've come to town express to propose to her.
Please don't touch the cucumber sandwiches. They were especially for anti-gusted.
But she could be eating them all the time.
That is quite a different matter. She is my aunt, and Gwendolyn is my first cousin. And before I allow you to marry her, you have to clear the whole question of Cecily.
Cecily? What on earth do you mean? I don't know anyone with the name Cecily.
Lane, please bring me that cigarette case Mr. Worthing left in the smoke room the last time you got here.
Yes, sir.
Do you mean to say you've had my cigarette case all this time? I wish to goodness you had told me. I've been writing frantic letters to Scotland Yard about it.
We shall see. Oh, well, it makes no matter, for now that I see the inscription inside, I find out this isn't yours after all. This cigarette case is a present from someone in the name of Cecily. And you said you didn't know anyone with that name.
Well, if you want to know, Cecily happens to be my aunt.
Your aunt?
Yes, charming old lady she is too. Lives at Tunbridge Wells. For heaven's sake, give me back my cigarette case.
But why does your aunt call you her uncle? From little Cecily with her fondest love to her dear Uncle Jack. Besides, her name isn't Jack at all. Her name is Ernest.
It isn't Ernest. It's Jack.
You've always told me it was Ernest. You answer to the name of Ernest. You look as if your name was Ernest. You're the most earnest-looking person I ever saw in my life.
Well, my name is Ernest in town and Jack in the country. And that cigarette case was given to me in the country.
I've always suspected you of being a confirmed and secret Bunburyist. I'm quite sure of it now.
Bunburyist? What on earth do you mean by a Bunburyist?
I'll reveal to you the meaning of that incomparable expression as soon as you are kind enough to inform to me why you were Ernest in town and Jack in the country.
Well, produce my cigarette case first.
Here it is. Now, here's your explanation and pray make it improbable.
The old Mr. Thomas Cardew, who adopted me when I was a very young boy, made me his will guardian to his granddaughter, Cecily Cardew. Cecily, who addressed me as uncle, from motives you cannot possibly appreciate, lives at my place in the country under the charge of our admirable governess in his prison. When one's placed in the position of guardian, one must adopt a high moral tone, and as a high moral tone can hardly be said to reduce either one's health or one's happiness. I have always pretended to have a younger brother with the name of Earnest, who gets into a dreadful disgrace. That, my dear Algie, is the whole truth, pure and simple.
The truth is rarely pure and never simple. What you really are is a Bunburyist.
What on earth do you mean?
You have invented a very useful little brother called Earnest, in order that you may go into town as often as you like. I have invented an invaluable permanent invalid called Bunbury, so I can go down into the country whenever I choose to. Bunbury is perfectly invaluable.
I'm not a Bunburyist at all. If Gwendolyn accepts me, I'm going to kill my younger brother. In fact, I think I'll kill him in any case. Cecily's a little too fond of him, so I'm going to kill my younger brother, and I strongly advise you do the same with your invalid friend who has an absurd name.
Santa Augusta.
Lady Bracknell and Miss Fairfax.
Good afternoon, dear Algernon. I hope you are behaving very well.
I'm feeling quite well, Santa Augusta.
That's not quite the same thing. In fact, the two things rarely go together.
You're quite perfect, Miss Fairfax.
Oh, I hope I'm not that. Will leave no room for developments, and I intend to develop in many directions.
Algernon, I'll have a cup of tea and one of those nice cucumber sandwiches you promised me.
Santa Augusta.
Gwendolyn, won't you come sit over here?
Thanks, Mom. I'm quite comfortable where I am.
Good heavens, Lane! Why are there no cucumber sandwiches? I ordered them especially.
There were no cucumbers in the market this morning, sir. I went down twice.
No cucumbers, you say?
No, sir.
That will do, Lane. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
It really makes no matter, Algernon. How is your friend Mr. Bunbury?
Ah, yes. Mr. Bunbury. Aunt Augusta, I'm afraid I shall give you the pleasure of dining with you tonight. I've just had telegram to say Mr. Bunbury is very ill again. They seem to think I should be with him.
Well, I must say, Algernon, I think it is high time that Mr. Bunbury made up his mind whether he was going to live or to die. This shilly-shallying with the question is absurd. I would be much obliged if you would please ask Mr. Bunbury from me to not have a relapse on Saturday, as I rely on you to arrange my music for me.
I'll speak to Aunt Augusta if he's still conscious, and I think I can promise you he'll be right by, let's say, Saturday. I'll run over the program I've drawn out if you will so kindly come into the next room for a moment.
Thank you, Algernon. It is very thoughtful of you. Gwendolyn, you will accompany me.
Certainly, Mom.
Charming day to Miss Fairfax.
Hurry, don't talk to me about the weather, Mr. Worthing. Whenever people talk to me about the weather, I always feel quite certain that they mean something else.
I do need something else, and I'd like to be allowed to take advantage of Lady Bracknell's temporary absence.
I would certainly advise you to do so. Mama has a way of coming back into a room that I've often had to speak to her about.
Miss Fairfax, ever since I met you, I admired you more than any girl I've ever met.
Yes, I'm well aware of the fact. Even before I met you, I was far from indifferent to you. The fact is, my ideal has always been to love someone named Earnest. There's something in that name that inspires absolute confidence. The moment Algernon first mentioned to me a friend called Earnest, I knew I was destined to love you.
You really love me, Gwendolyn.
Passionately.
But, darling, you don't mean to say that you couldn't love me if my name wasn't Earnest.
But your name is Earnest.
Yes, but I don't think the name suits me at all.
It suits you perfectly. It's a divine name. It has music of its own. It produces vibrations.
Well, I think there are a lot of other much nicer names. I think Jack, for instance, a charming name.
Jack? No, there is very little music in the name Jack, if any at all. It does not thrill. Produces absolutely no vibrations.
Gwendolyn, I must get christened at once. I mean, we must get married at once. There is no time to be lost.
Married, Mr. Worthing? But you haven't proposed to me yet.
Gwendolyn, will you marry me?
Of course I will, darling! How long you've been about it.
Mr. Worthing, rise up from the semi-recumbent posture. It is most indecorous.
Mama, this is no place for you. Mr. Worthing is not quite finished yet.
Finished what, may I ask?
I am engaged to Mr. Worthing, Mama.
You are not engaged to anyone. When you do become engaged to someone, I or your father, should his help permit him, will inform you of the fact. Now I have a few questions to put to you, Mr. Worthing. When I make these inquiries, you, Gwendolyn, will wait for me below in the carriage.
Mama!
Gwendolyn, the carriage!
Yes, Mama.
Mr. Worthing, I feel obliged to tell you that you are not on my list of eligible young men. However, I am quite ready to enter your name should your answers be what a really affectionate mother requires. Do you smoke?
Well, yes, I must admit I do smoke.
I'm glad to hear it. A man should always have an occupation of some kind. There are far too many idle men in London nowadays as it is. How old are you?
29.
A fine age to be married at. I've always been of the opinion that a man who wishes to be married should know either everything or nothing at all. Which do you know?
I know nothing, Lady Bracknell.
I'm pleased to hear it. I do not approve of anything that tempers with natural ignorance. The whole theory of modern education is radically unsound. Fortunately, in London, at any rate, education produces no effect whatsoever. Are your parents living?
I have lost both my parents.
To lose one parent, Mr. Worthing, might be regarded as a misfortune. To lose both looks like carelessness.
Well, Lady Bracknell, I said that I lost my parents. It would be closer to the truth to say my parents seem to have lost me. I don't know who I am. I was found.
Found?
The late Mr. Thomas Cardew, an old gentleman, very charitable and kindly disposition, found me and gave me the name of Worthing. Because he happened to have a first-class ticket for Worthing at the time. It's a place in Sussex, a seaside resort.
Where did this charitable gentleman who had a first-class ticket for a seaside resort find you?
In a handbag.
A handbag?
Yes, Lady Bracknell, in a handbag. A somewhat large black leather handbag with handles on it.
In what locality did Mr. Cardew come across this ordinary handbag?
In the cloakroom at Victoria Station. It was given to him in mistake for his own.
The cloakroom at Victoria Station?
Yes, the Brighton line.
The line is immaterial! Mr. Worthing, to be born or at any rate bred in a handbag seems to me to display contempt for the ordinary pleasantries of family life. As for the particular locality in which the handbag is found, while a cloakroom in a railway station might serve to conceal social indiscretion, it can hardly be regarded as an assurance